These 7 settings on Finviz are going to make finding swing trades so much easier, and it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to do. Hi, I'm Noah Davidson with the Cashflow Academy, and today I'm going to share the exact settings I use when screening for potential swing trades using the Finviz platform. So no more endlessly clicking through charts or relying on gurus out there to tell you what to buy or sell. The power is in your hands when you know what you're doing. So let's dive in. I tricked you. Before I go into Finviz, one of the first things I do is I run through the broad market itself and look at the trends and patterns. Right now, the S&P index is ripped to an all-time high, really strong, and it's pulled back down for the last 3 days. And this puts us into what's called the bull area. This is a pullback pattern. The prices have dropped back in between the rising 9-period moving average and the 20-period moving average, and that's a pullback setup. It may pull a little bit deeper, but we're looking now is for an upward confirmation in price, and we can scan for this pattern. We can also look at the sectors. And when we look at sectors and ETFs, we can look for opportunities to buy or sell things. And so right now, basic materials have dropped. They're on sale. There could be opportunities to buy things on sale. The communication sector's in a nice little pullback pattern right now. That's matching the broad market. These are the companies that are driving the market. We can look for opportunities for pullbacks in the communication sector. Energy sector's breaking out. We're bullish in energy sector, specifically in nuclear. We don't mind oil and gas and natural gas and those things, of course. But nuclear energy is where I'm really focusing right now. Financials got a little pullback, kind of stagnant. There's a base building, and they're going to move, but they're not my favorite right now. The tech sector looks exactly like the S&P, even better actually. It's got that beautiful pullback pattern 3 days down into the rising moving average. That's a great place to look. Staples are dying. Nobody's buying those. Utilities are pretty neutral. We don't typically trade those. Healthcare struggling. We don't care about that. Cyclicals are doing okay, but it's not the area of my focus, so I'm not going to waste my time there. And then industrials are pretty neutral at the moment. They're building a base, but they're not quite ready to pop. So now I know which my top 3 sectors are. I'm basically looking at energy that's breaking out. Technology is my favorite, of course, and the communication sector. Okay, so when you log into Finviz and you get to their homepage, you can see the current market conditions, and you get a little heat map, and you got some stocks that are kind of rising, top gainers and new losers and things like that. You can look at those. There's good information right here on the homepage, but where I want to focus is on the screener. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to look here at the screener up top. And we're going to click on that. And this screener page is pretty awesome. And these are the 7 settings I'm going to run you through right now. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see it. And I always start out looking for stocks on which I have options. And I click on this little drop-down menu, and I always choose optionable and shortable. Optionable meaning there's options I can trade if I want to, and shortable meaning I could borrow and short sell it. This is particularly helpful if I'm bearish, which I'm not at the moment, but I really doesn't matter. I want all choices available to me, so that's the first thing I do. Now, before I click on that button, I want to show you something important. There are, on this screener, there are 10,457 candidates. So watch that number as I select each one of these boxes, and it's going to narrow it down. So just this first filter right here, it's going to narrow it down. When I go optionable and shortable, we just cut that number. Let's zoom in on that again. We're down to like 5,500 candidates. So let me zoom on that properly, and I'll erase that. We've got that first one down, and we've knocked it down to just 5,500 stocks to look at. That won't take long at all. The next box I choose is average volume. I go ahead and cut to the chase and do over 1 million or 2 million if I want to be really picky. But if I set that for stocks that trade over 1 million shares on average per day, I'm getting rid of illiquid stocks, and that narrows it down even further. We're now down to 2,226 or 2,126 stocks. So that's a powerful filter right there. Then the next thing I like to look for is price. I like to get the price over 10 bucks or 20 bucks, one of those two, because I want to get rid of the garbage penny stocks. And I click on over 10 bucks, and voila, we're down to 1,621 candidates. That's awesome. Next thing I'm going to click on here is relative volume. I'm typically looking for stuff that is over 1 which just means more than average. And that would give me an idea of things that have had more activity right now compared to average, which means people are paying attention to it and buying and selling it. We're down to 645 right there. So that's here on this descriptive page, 4 settings. Let me zoom out so you can see that. The descriptive tab right here, 4 settings. We've got optionable and shortable, over 1 million shares on average, over $10 per share, and relative volume over 1. Those are my first 4 settings. I can, of course, get in and do fundamental scans and filters, and I'm going to skip that for right now because I'm going to focus on the technicals first. I'm looking for stocks in an uptrend. And so I'm going to jump into the technicals and I'm going to do 3 quick filters. Give me all the stocks that are above their 200 period moving average, that are above their 50-day moving average. So price above the 50-day simple moving average and the 20-day moving average, the price above the 20-day moving average. So now all of the candidates we're looking for, we're down to 267 candidates just with that. And if it's above the 20, above the 50, and above the 200 period simple moving average, we're in a bullish trend for sure. Now, for bearish trends, I flip those 3 around. Below the 200, below the 50, below the 20. That will give me stuff in a downtrend, but that's the core 7 filters I use. And instead of having to look through 10,000 stocks, we've got it down to 267. And that was easy. Now from here, there's really only a couple of other settings that I use to get down to where I can find good stuff to trade. And if I'm bullish, like I could do a fundamental filter and I could say, hey, give me stuff that's growing. And I could say, hey, give me the stuff that's got good growth, positive growth over, 10% for the next year. And I could say, hey, give me stuff that's, set to grow, 20% over the next 5 years. And I've narrowed it down to 35 candidates right there. And I've got a handful of candidates that are fundamentally filtered on growth, which is a pretty good little filter. Now I'm going to strip those off for a minute just for fun. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit any here. And I'm going to switch to where we were talking about the technicals before, and I'm going to go back to the descriptive. We can focus on sector. So we mentioned that we were really interested in the tech sector. So we could go look at the technology sector, and we've got it narrowed down to 11 candidates that really are ripping right now that we're looking for that particular setup. So again, technology that meets the, I got one fundamental criteria in there still. Let me take that one off, any. Okay, so we got 46 candidates, and that's a pretty easy number of stocks to look through. And again, I can run additional filters on this, but that's a pretty good list of stocks. You'll see some names on here that are certainly of interest for us. So again, we've got, that could be by sector. I could switch that sector again. I could go, instead of looking at technology stocks, I could go look at the energy sector, for example, and find the best candidates in the energy sector. And right here, uranium, Cameco, CCJ, that's one of my leading candidates for the market right now. I've got LEU, Centrus Energy, uranium right there. And we could probably go hit one more page here, and we got 2 more uranium stocks, UEC and UUU, that are on a tear right now. So I can filter that way just by going through sectors. Again, if we like technology, we like energy, we could go look at communication services sector, and we narrowed it down to just 9 candidates. You got Baidu, Billy, Fox, IAS, Upwork, and Weibo Corporation are showing up right now. Now, you can pull off some of these filters at any point in time. Like if I take off relative volume, that list is going to expand. You'll see more candidates in that. If that relative volume filter, I like it just because it gives me the stuff that's actually showing me energy right now. So those are fun filters to use. But again, it's off after I put in those core 7 filters, then I start playing around with stuff. So I'm going to back it out here to any, and I'm going to go up here to a feature they call the signal. And I could look for top stocks in top gainers. And I can narrow it down. These are the top 12 candidates right now. And I've got LEU, which is uranium. We got some biotech, Soli, semiconductors, Intel's on the move, and so on and so forth. Again, there's good candidates in here. I could filter for news, like show me stuff that has had news, major news announcements lately. That can be a catalyst for movement. And I've got on this list NVIDIA. Okay, that's okay. NVIDIA's got a great pattern. Intel's popping. Oracle's on the move. Tesla, IBM, Oklo, Palantir, Micron, Taiwan Semiconductor. Oh, look at that pattern on Taiwan Semiconductor. It's got a beautiful pullback pattern. One of my favorite little buttons to click here is the chart button. You click on that chart button and it lays them all out into a chart. So you can see, like right there, NVIDIA's got a high basing pattern. So it's been on a tear, it's been chopping sideways recently, and it's currently kind of making higher lows. And a breakout above 182 here is a strong buy. Write this down. When it breaks the high, it's time to buy. That should be programmed into your brain. When a stock breaks to a new high, it's time to buy. It's a breakout movement off of a high base pattern. You could call this a high base, a cup and handle, kind of depending on your time frame. Like change it to a weekly chart, and you can see that's the high base pattern I was describing earlier. Great ideas are emerging here. So we're getting a clear picture of what we're looking for, why we're looking for it, and how to narrow it down. Again, I can be very specific in what I'm looking for. And what I've done is I've taken those core 7 scans, and just by clicking on some of those core 7 settings, just by changing a couple of the other settings I use, I can focus in on exactly what I'm looking for. Again, I could say, hey, give me stuff that's had major news in just the technology sector. And I've narrowed it down to 9 candidates. And then off of this list, I throw my favorite 4 candidates, 3 candidates, 2 candidates, whatever I like, onto my watch list. So that's what I've done over here is I have a bull watch list with all of the top candidates I found running scans today. I got a beautiful trade set up on Albemarle. I don't know how to pronounce that. Albemarle. Where it's hitting that resistance zone at 84, 84, 84. It's ascending. It's kind of building a wedge. That could be a nice breakout with a profit target at 95 or even up to 100. We've got a nice setup on CCJ at the moment where it popped to a new high, pulled back down, retested, and gave us a big old bullish kicker candle. That one's ready to rip. CEG at this moment in time is hovering under resistance. It's got a big old macro cup and handle. Check this out. Your eyes can spot it, but there's the big old macro cup. There's the forming handle. I want to see this getting moving up in the right direction. If we can get some upward confirmation on this thing and it can break out above 5 or 357, it's going to be off to the races. And that's where a lot of the big companies are pumping money into Constellation Energy. You name the big company, Microsoft, IBM, Apple, so on and so forth. They're all throwing money at Constellation Energy. Google's got that beautiful pullback pattern with the nice hammer candle. That's ready to pop. IBM already popped and is running hot. I might look for a pullback here. Wait on that one patiently. LEU's got a big old bullish engulfing, ripping to all-time highs. This is one of the most volume on the market today. Big mover. Meta is hanging out, waiting for that one patiently. MP Materials Corporation is just knocking on resistance. It's poking its head out. I'm ready to take a position on a breakout buy there maybe. Net Cloudflare is hitting kind of a double bottom at the moment, but it's in an overall uptrend. And I can look, this is basically high basing. If you look at it out here, it's running, and it's starting to build a base. We're going to look for that to break out. And I'm watching these. I'm not trading them yet necessarily, but I'm watching them. Netflix has a consolidation pattern, an inside symmetrical triangle. NVIDIA, we already talked about. I love NVIDIA for a breakout. Oracle just popped up on big news and is retesting that zone. I want to watch this price action. If it pulls back down into a dip, I can buy it on the discount, or I can watch and see if it starts to build up some momentum to the upside again. Palantir, ooh, that one's pretty. I got a little pattern in here where it comes and hits, boom, it's running up, creating that kind of cup and handle type pattern base where it's looking like it's ready to break out and pop. I love that candidate right there. Taiwan Semiconductor has got a pop to a new high and a pullback that filled its gap, and it's riding the 9-period moving average with a kind of a hammer candle. That could be ready for a swing trade. USAR knocking on resistance. It's a little messy, a little chaotic. This is, again, a rare earth metal play. It's not a very expensive stock, so I don't have to throw a lot of money at it if I want to trade it. And UUU has Energy Fuels Corporation has been just on a tear, and it pulled back down, hit that 9-period moving average, and shot right back up. So that's a momentum trade where you can be finding that, I call it riding the lightning or riding the 9-period moving average, where it pulls down and hits that boom, and you're looking for that to continue. You just buy, trail your stop loss behind it, and go for the gold. So now, out of all these candidates right now, The candidate I'm probably most interested in for an immediate trade is either Google or Taiwan Semiconductor on the pullback pattern, because those match the broad market. They're in the tech sector that has the same pattern. So Google pattern, I'd have an entry above the candle, a stop loss below it, and a profit target. I'd probably project a profit out on that to 270, maybe 280 on the high end, where again, a lot of upward momentum. And Taiwan Semiconductor, again, hitting a new high. Taiwan Semiconductor is a great candidate. It's got lots of upward momentum, a 3-day pullback into a rising 9-period moving average. Let's zoom in on that. We could plan and place a trade on this relatively easily. What we'd be looking for is a price trigger with a confirmation up, a trailing stop loss down below the candlestick at a minimum, and then a profit target, easy profit target of 300, maybe more on that upside potential. Definitely giving us better than a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So now that you have a good basic understanding of how scanning works and what we're looking for, you need to slow down, and it's important to understand a few more things before you run off and swing trade. You have to have a systematic approach and some discipline with it. You need to make sure you understand your order entry, your entry criteria, and your stop loss criteria, as well as how to identify good, proper profit targets. You also need to have a very clear understanding of appropriate position sizing and stop loss so that you're trading within a proper risk management for your goals, for your account size, and for your personality. If you like this video, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below what types of settings you use in Finviz if you're using them, or what other scanning softwares you're using and what kind of criteria you're looking for. We can carry on the conversation in the comments below, and of course, as always, you can watch the next video. We'll put together a video for you on order entry basics so you have a clear understanding of how to buy things and how to sell things, and that can be a very helpful tool for you. We'll see you in the next video.